Welcome back to this explainer for Systems 2 of the AI Care Agent's 24/7 AI Governance Learning Pathway. So, in our previous sessions, we focused heavily on building a comprehensive inventory of the AI tools operating inside your organization. But let's be real, an inventory is really just a list. In Systems 2, we tackle the next step, evaluating the tools you just inventoried. Not all AI tools pose the same threat, which is why we must score AI use cases by risk. We're shifting gears from merely discovering what's out there in your environment to actively assessing the risk it brings, and we're going to do it through a highly structured approach.
Think about it. You've just wrapped up your inventory, right? You're staring at this massive spreadsheet with maybe 40 different AI tools being used across your clinic or legal aid organization. You've got some staff using AI to draft simple, everyday internal emails, while others are out there experimenting with generative AI to summarize highly sensitive client case files. Honestly, it can feel like total chaos. Without a clear, systematic way to prioritize that giant list, everything feels like a five-alarm fire. Or worse, everything just gets ignored because you're overwhelmed. So, where do you actually start?
Well, to get you started, today's agenda covers 5 quick steps. 1. Evaluating your AI inventory. 2. The 4 risk tiers. 3. The risk scoring formula. 4. A live scoring demo. And 5. Standardizing your risk approach. Let's get right into Section 1. Evaluating your AI inventory. This is the next logical step. You've done the heavy lifting. You've cataloged your tools, you've assigned owners, and you know what's actually operating in your workflows. But here's the hard truth. You simply cannot dedicate the same amount of time, legal review, and compliance checking to every single tool. You just don't have the resources for that. You have to separate the signal from the noise. Our guiding philosophy for this whole process is super simple. Objective math prevents panic. When you're dealing with sensitive environments, like patient communications or confidential legal data, introducing AI often triggers, well, a lot of anxiety among leadership. People usually react by either banning everything out of sheer fear, or they just bury their heads in the sand and ignore the risks completely. But by applying a structured mathematical approach, we replace that subjective fear with objective criteria. We ground our decisions in actual data.
Moving on to Section 2, the 4 risk tiers, categorizing the unknown.
Categorizing the unknown is exactly how we begin to control it. Today, we will define 4 distinct risk tiers: prohibited, high, limited, and minimal. By forcing every single tool into one of these specific buckets, we instantly know what level of governance is required. Minimal risk means the tool is probably fine to use with just some basic guidelines. Limited risk, that requires some guardrails, maybe a little user training. High risk is where it gets serious. That triggers mandatory vendor reviews, intense security audits, and strict human oversight. And prohibited means exactly that. No way, absolutely not. The risk to your clients or your organization is just way too immense to allow that tool to be used under any circumstances.
Let's look at the extreme boundaries here. To put this into perspective, on one end, you have a minimal risk scenario. This is your standard administrative tool, like an AI that helps schedule your meetings or sorts generic, non-confidential emails. The stakes there are incredibly low, right? But on the other end, we have a prohibited risk, an unvetted legal advice generator. Imagine if a legal aid attorney uses a hallucinating AI to generate direct legal counsel for a highly vulnerable client, and they do it without any human oversight. The consequences of that are catastrophic. That's a massive breach of confidentiality, which makes it strictly prohibited.
Now for Section 3, the risk scoring formula, the anatomy of a decision.
So how do we actually figure out where a tool falls on that massive spectrum between minimal and prohibited? We will introduce a simple scoring rubric that calculates risk by multiplying impact, likelihood, and vulnerability. It really is that straightforward. Risk isn't just a single bad thing happening. It's a combination of how bad it would be, how likely it is to actually happen, and how weak our current defenses are. By multiplying those 3 exact factors, we generate a tangible score that maps directly to our 4 risk tiers.
Let's break those 3 variables down, step by step. Step 1, assess the impact if it fails. Think about it. If this AI system hallucinates, or leaks data, or makes a biased decision, what is the literal worst-case scenario for our clients? Step 2, determine the likelihood of failure. Are we dealing with a highly experimental, brand-new generative AI, or is this a proven, boring, well-tested model? And Step 3, evaluate current vulnerability. Do we have human-in-the-loop oversight? Are there strict data access controls in place, or are we just completely exposed right now?
All right, Section 4, live scoring demo. Let's actually apply this rubric. We are going to jump into a live scoring demo. Let's say our sample tool is a legal aid intake AI.
Imagine an AI vendor knocks on your door and offers a tool that automatically listens to phone calls from incoming clients, transcribes the whole conversation, and uses a generative model to summarize their legal issues straight into your case management system. Sounds incredibly efficient, doesn't it? A real time saver. But wait, before we deploy it, we have to run it through our formula.
Watch as we take a sample legal aid intake tool and run it through the formula. What is the impact if it fails? What is the likelihood of failure? And what are our current vulnerabilities? Let's take impact first. In a legal aid context, an AI hallucinating facts or mishandling sensitive data could easily lead to a total breach of client confidentiality. Because of that, we score the impact as severe. Next up, what is the likelihood of failure? Well, since this is an untested third-party generative model trying to summarize complex human stories, the chance of a hallucination is pretty significant, so we score likelihood as probable. Finally, our current vulnerabilities. Let's say this tool writes directly to the database without a lawyer even reviewing the summary first. That means we have absolutely zero human-in-the-loop oversight, so we score vulnerability as high.
Next, we assign actual numerical values to those ratings, severe, probable, and high, and we multiply them. In this demo, multiplying those factors generates a final score of 80. Now, in our standardized matrix, an 80 firmly places this tool into the prohibited tier, or at the very least, high-risk paused. Notice what just happened. This isn't just someone sitting in a meeting saying, yeah, I kind of have a bad feeling about this tool. No, this is a mathematically sound, documented assessment proving that until human-in-the-loop oversight is added to lower that vulnerability score, this AI absolutely cannot be deployed safely.
And that brings us to Section 5, standardizing your risk approach, how to focus your resources.
When you are staring down a massive AI inventory, a score like 80 acts as a flashing red light. It tells your compliance team exactly where to focus their limited time and energy. To reiterate the core thesis of this explainer, this objective math prevents panic and helps you focus your resources on the highest risk tools. It empowers everyone, your compliance officers, your executives, your everyday staff, to make confident, defensible decisions. It completely transforms governance from this vague, ambiguous feeling of anxiety into a structured, manageable daily process.
The best part? You do not have to build this math from scratch to standardize how your team evaluates risk. Download today's practical output, the Scoring Rubric plus Calculator. We've done the heavy lifting for you. We built the formulas, defined the tiers, and created the matrices. All you have to do is take your AI inventory, plug your tools into the calculator, and you can literally start scoring your landscape today.
So, as AI adoption continues to accelerate across the public benefits sector, I leave you with this. Will you let subjective fear stall your mission and keep you from utilizing truly helpful technology? Or will you step up and govern with objective math? That choice alone dictates whether your organization is just going to barely survive the AI wave or if you're going to safely ride it to better serve your communities. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really look forward to seeing how you implement this scoring system.